When a loved one dies, modern culture offers us a lie wrapped in the language of comfort. We are told that fire and scattering will set them free, that returning them to nature is the ultimate peace. But in our rush to erase the physical reality of death, we have forgotten what a human body actually is, and the dangerous spiritual cost of treating it like dust in the wind. Death is the great undeniable reality, yet we live in a society that spends billions of dollars trying to hide from it. When the time inevitably comes, the modern world demands efficiency. We want the process to be quick, clean, and customized. Because of this, cremation has become the default. It is presented as practical. It is marketed as environmentally friendly. It is framed as a personal choice. But the spiritual life is not about convenience, and the human body is not a piece of disposable property. The Catholic Church permits cremation, provided it is not chosen as a denial of the Christian faith. But this permission has been violently misunderstood. What happens after the cremation has quietly become an epidemic of spiritual negligence. Ashes are scattered in oceans, divided into small vials, turned into jewelry, or left sitting on fireplace mantles for decades. We are told this honors the dead. It does not. It starves them of what they need most, and it reveals a terrifying blindness to the theology of the human body. This is not just a matter of strict religious tradition. This is about the soul, the resurrection of the dead, and the quiet deception that takes root in our minds when we grieve without truth. The way a culture treats its dead tells you exactly what it believes about the living. Historically, the Christian burial was a profound act of reverence. The body was washed, clothed, brought into the sanctuary, and laid into consecrated ground. Today, death has become an industry of sanitized disposal. The psychological truth here is that we want to avoid the sheer, uncomfortable mortality. A casket is heavy. A grave is permanent. A cemetery forces you to confront the reality that you, too, are going to die. Cremation, when used as a way to avoid the cemetery, is often a subconscious attempt to soften the blow of death. We turn a physical, heavy reality into a lightweight, manageable jar of ashes. We rebrand funerals as celebrations of life to avoid the solemnity of mourning. But the practical application is this. You cannot shortcut grief, and you cannot bypass the reality of death by making the remains smaller. When we reduce the physical footprint of the dead, we reduce their spiritual footprint in our minds. We have replaced the solemn gravity of the grave with the sterile convenience of the fireplace. But what happens when we forget whose body this actually is? There is a catastrophic misunderstanding of what the human body is. The modern mind believes that you are a ghost driving a machine, that your body is just a shell, and when you die, you throw the shell away. This is not the Christian faith. You do not have a body. You are a body and a soul intimately woven together by God. If your loved one was baptized, their body was claimed by Christ. It was anointed with sacred chrism. It was the temple of the Holy Spirit. If they received communion, their physical tongue touched the literal body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. Physical flesh was a tabernacle for the living God. Psychologically, it is easier for us to treat remains casually if we convince ourselves that the body no longer matters. We think, Dad is in heaven now. He doesn't care what we do with his ashes. But this reveals our deep ignorance of the bodily resurrection. Christ did not resurrect as a spirit. He resurrected in his flesh. Therefore, a corpse, or its cremated remains, is not a discarded garment. It is a sacred vessel awaiting a return. The human body is not trash to be disposed of. It is a sleeping participant in the resurrection. This theological reality brings us to the most dangerous mistake grieving families make today. We see it in movies constantly. A grieving family stands on a cliff, or a beach, or a mountaintop, and scatters the ashes of their loved one into the wind. It looks beautiful. It feels liberating. But spiritually, it is a disaster. The Church strictly forbids the scattering of ashes, the dividing of ashes among family members, or keeping them in the home. Why? Because the dead belong in consecrated ground. When you scatter ashes, you are participating in a pantheistic ritual. You are subconsciously making a statement that the person is returning to Mother Earth or becoming one with the universe. But a Christian does not belong to the universe. A Christian belongs to Christ. The psychological draw of scattering is the illusion of freedom. We think we are letting them go. In reality, we are isolating them. By scattering them to the wind, or keeping them on a bookshelf in a living room, we remove them from the communion of saints in the cemetery. We rob them of the dignity of a specific hallowed resting place. If you have a loved one's ashes sitting in a closet or on a mantle right now, you must realize that you are treating a human being like a sentimental household object. To scatter the dead to the wind is not to set them free, but to abandon them to the wilderness. So what is the actual cost of this spiritual negligence? Here is the hardest truth about modern funeral practices. We have stopped praying for the dead. When someone dies, our immediate instinct is to canonize them. We say, he is in a better place. She is an angel now. This is a psychological defense mechanism. We comfort ourselves by assuming they bypassed the justice of God and went straight to the beatific vision. But if they are in purgatory, if they are enduring the painful, purifying fire of God's love to cleanse them of their attachments to sin, they desperately need our prayers. The physical grave in a consecrated cemetery is not for the dead. It is for the living. It is a physical monument that demands our attention. When you walk past the headstones, you are prompted to pray, "Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord." When you scatter ashes, there is no grave. When you leave them on a mantle, they eventually blend in with the furniture. Over time, the prayers stop. Future generations have nowhere to visit. The person is forgotten. When we erase the grave, we silence the prayers the dead are begging us to offer. This tragedy requires a total shift in how we approach the end of our own lives. You need to ask yourself a very sobering question right now. What will happen to you when you die? Have you had the courage to give your family strict instructions? Or are you leaving it up to them, knowing they might choose what is cheap, convenient, and secular? More deeply, look at how you treat your body right now. Do you treat your body as a temple of the Holy Spirit today? Or do you treat it as an instrument for your own pleasure, vanity, and comfort? If you do not reverence your own body and life through purity, discipline, and holiness, why would you expect your family to reverence it in death? The casual treatment of the dead always begins with the casual treatment of the living. If you are harboring secret sins of the flesh, if you are defiling the temple God gave you, the time for games is over. You are going to die. Your body will stop functioning. You will stand before the judgment seat of Christ. And what you did in the body will echo into eternity. Do not let this reality crush you into despair. Let it wake you up if you have made mistakes with the remains of your loved ones out of ignorance. If you scattered ashes because you didn't know better, or because someone else made the decision, God's mercy is infinitely greater than human error. The Lord of the universe, who formed Adam from the dust, has no trouble gathering the scattered ashes of his children on the last day. But now you know the truth, and truth demands a response. If you have ashes in your home, it is time to do the right thing. Contact your local parish. Arrange for them to be interred in a cemetery or a columbarium. Give them the dignity of consecrated ground. Begin praying fervently for the souls in purgatory. Offer masses for them. Fast for them. Visit the cemetery, not just as a place of memory, but as a battlefield of prayer, where your rosaries and sacrifices pull souls toward the gates of heaven. And for yourself, live a life worthy of a Christian burial. Go to confession. Cleanse your soul. Treat your physical body with the dignity it deserves, so that when it is finally laid to rest, it rests in the peace of Christ. We are not citizens of the dirt. We are not meant to simply vanish into the wind or sit quietly on a shelf. We were bought at a price. The grave is not a garbage disposal for the human machine. It is a waiting room for the resurrection. Treat the dead with reverence. Pray for their souls with urgency. And live your life today knowing that the body you inhabit is destined for glory. If this message convicted you, do not just click away. Examine your conscience. Share this video with someone who needs to hear the truth about the reverence for life and death. Subscribe to this channel if you want to continue walking the narrow path. And let me know in the comments, have you ever considered the spiritual importance of praying for the dead at a physical grave? May God grant you the grace of a holy life and a holy death.